hold this correctly. Now when you push an open container into a liquid, as long as you don't tilt it,
Air traps in
the air will keep the liquid from going in it to a certain extent. Air compresses under pressure. So usually when you push it deeper, some glaze will start to go in to a degree. But if you tilt it, a big blob of air will go out and glaze will rush in and take its place. So I push this down in a way that will still keep the inside of this blue. And I'm just going to set it like this now. I'm not going to worry about cleaning that up yet. And I think probably the best way to apply glaze to this is bottom first, right up to the lip. The glaze comes off, the beaded glaze comes off the wax way easier when it's wet than when it dries. So I try to get as much of it off as possible before it dries. Now you can see this, the glaze is already dry on the outside of the jar. It's dry on the inside of the jar. It's a little bit wet right there, so I think I'll just set it down for a minute. While it's sitting there, clean up this edge. Okay, that one's ready to put away. This one's still wet. That's because the glaze is so thick. It will be almost gray-white or so when it dries. So that one I can't do anything to yet. Oh well. What I want to do with these two pots, I want to make these match, but I don't want them to be the same, just one color. So what I'm going to do is dip them, each one completely into Shino, and then wax the lip. Paint a design with wax on top of the Shino in the center of the plate. Then on day 2, when the wax is dry, I'm going to pour a dark glaze on top of the Shino, swish it around and pour it out. So the inside is dark, the outside is Shino, and the image is Shino. Whenever possible, I use glazing tongs, because I should be able to dip this whole pot into the glaze at once. Because Shino is slippery and like soap, it resists the wax less. Like soap breaks down wax. So it likes to stick to the wax longer than the other glazes. And it's a real mess to get off if you let it sit on too long. So Shino's one I really try to get off while it's wet. And you reach a point where you can only get so much off, so you say, okay, fine. And same with this one. I gotta dip it because the glaze isn't deep enough to submerge it without tilting them. Whoop. Glazing tongs are great. If you squeeze them too tightly, they can go right through bisqueware. The bisqueware is soft. So that's something to remember. I, in demos, squeezed right through and put holes in pots. Okay, so that's just about it for today. These two are too wet. We'll glaze those on Tuesday. If you get your pieces, your teapots, and I know some are still in the Bisquill because the kill's waiting to be loaded, but if your pieces are on the shelf and you prep them between now and Tuesday, then after the short demo on how to glaze a teapot, you can get your pieces over here on the shelf and they'll go into the firing right away. The kiln right now, the glaze kill's about 3/4 loaded, and it needs this height desperately. So